Jason, do you mind if I ask you something?
Sure, what is it?
You are a psychology major here on campus, aren't you?
Why yes, I am. Why?
Well, several of us in the freshman class have noticed that we are required to take a psychology class as part of our degree. And we are really not looking forward to taking it. Why do we have to take psychology? Why can't we take something that is more useful?
It's interesting that you should say that. When I came to school here, I had no idea what psychology was all about, and I felt the same way you do. I had planned on getting my degree in something more useful and that would help me get a job after graduation.
That's the way I feel. But what changed your mind?
I had no interest in psychology. I thought all you did with psychology was work with depressed or mentally ill people, and I had no interest in either of those.
Really? That is what I thought psychology is all about.
Not even close.
Can you tell me more?
I remember going into my introduction to psychology class and complaining to the professor about having to take the class. Looking back on it, I was a real pain at the beginning, but she was really patient with me. All she said was, "Let's see if you feel that way by the middle of the semester."
What changed your mind from having no interest in psychology to being a psychology major?
It's a long story, but I can tell you some of it.
I would love to hear about it. Can you tell me some of it now?
Well, like I said, I went into that first psychology class convinced that it was going to be pretty useless. But since I was required to take it, I didn't have much of a choice. First of all, I didn't realize psychology covered so many areas. Each week in the class we were studying a new topic, and every topic seemed to be related to things in my life at the time.
Like what?
Well, early in the class we learned about how we develop growing up and how that has an impact on us for the rest of our lives. And we also learned about the nervous system and the brain. And then after that we learned about how we sense things around us. For example, it isn't just what we see or hear around us, it is how we interpret what we see and hear.
That is kind of interesting. But I still don't see how that convinced you to become a psychology major.
Let me tell you more. We learned about conscious and unconscious thought, and then we learned about memory and how we remember, or don't remember things. I think I was more the not remembering type.
Okay.
Then the professor taught about motivation. At the time I was on the soccer team, and learning about motivation really helped me understand why I was having trouble getting to soccer practice on time. I found that understanding psychology made me a better athlete.
Really?
About halfway through the semester, the professor spent an entire class talking about how what we had learned so far connected with all different kinds of jobs.
Like what?
For example, she talked about how the section on growing up was really important for anyone who wanted to be a teacher. Then one guy in the class said, "But I am not going to teach, so how does it help me?" She said, "I am guessing many of you are planning to be parents. Knowing about development will help you be better parents."
Gee, I never thought about that.
And our professor told us much more too. She pointed out that managers at every job have to learn how to motivate employees to be better employees. She also helped us see how memory and learning are important in every job.
This sounds more interesting all the time.
And we learned about different personalities too. And we did learn about counseling and dealing with psychological problems. But psychologists do so much more than that.
I guess I can understand how people in different jobs could use some psychology sometimes. But isn't psychology just common sense?
That's what I thought. But there's a lot more to it than that. If psychology is just common sense, why aren't we all better at it? And psychology has lots of specialty areas too.
Like what?
For example, there is industrial and organizational psychology. That field directly helps people be more productive at work. Industrial psychologists help companies and managers help people be better workers. And they help people be happier on the job too.
Interesting.
The field of health psychology helps us deal with stress and live a healthier life.
I could use help in that area.
School psychologists help teachers and parents to get their kids properly educated.
Okay.
And sports psychologists help athletes perform better.
Psychologists work in sports too.
Absolutely. Did you know that the best athletes in the world work with psychologists? And forensic psychologists work in the legal and criminal fields.
Don't they help find serial killers?
That is only a small part of what they do. They also work with lawyers and juries and judges. They work in areas like child custody and other areas of law.
Wow, I didn't know psychology was important in so many different fields.
I am just getting started. And then there are areas like sales and marketing.
Wait, sales and marketing. What do they have to do with psychology?
Selling is all about psychology. The first people who really studied why people buy certain things were psychologists. In fact, sales, marketing, and public relations were all originally just subfields of psychology. The same is true with management. It was a subfield of psychology too.
Wow.
And psychologists work with all kinds of personal problems. They work with depression and anxiety, marriage and dating, and career counseling too.
It sounds like you are saying that psychology is part of almost every job.
You are right. Psychology is part of every job. Jobs are done by people, and psychology is the field that studies people, how people think, how people feel, and how people behave. In fact, psychology is part of every minute and every day of our lives.
It sounds like it.
So, what I realized by the end of my first psychology class was that if I was going to be successful in life, I better understand psychology. And psychology helped me understand myself and other people too.
Well, maybe this introduction to psychology class doesn't sound that bad after all.
Give it a chance. You may not want to become a psychology major like me, but you can learn some very interesting and useful things.
Thanks for the advice. I think I understand now why they want us to take this class.
Who knows? You might end up becoming a psychology major too.
Who knows?